Hello, I'd like to convene the Single Family Design Board for January 31st, 2022. May I have roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start roll call. Chair Miller.
Here.
Vice Chair Kloss.
Here.
Board Member Ara Kellyan.
Here.
Board Member Brentlinger.
Here.
Board Member Klein.
Here.
And Board Member Motisha.
And Board Member Motisha, I'm sorry, this is Ellen Kokinda. I muted you because we were picking up some background noise. I just sent you an unmute request, so you'll have to unmute yourself if you just accept that request. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
All right, great. Thank you. Moving on to general business.
Chair Miller, I'll take it for here. Just
okay, yes, please.
Briefly. The first item of business today will be the election of officers. So I'll just go ahead and open the floor to nominations for the office of chair.
I would like to make a nomination of Leslie Kloss.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Mr. Miller.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay, so we'll take a roll call vote for each. We'll start with a vote for Board Member Kloss as chair. Ms. Fennessy, can you take a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Board Member Miller.
Yes.
Board Member Kloss.
No.
Board Member Ara Kellyan.
No.
Board Member Brentlinger.
It's a tight race, but I'll go no.
Board Member Klein.
Yes.
And Board Member Motisha.
No.
Okay, thank you. Motion fails 4-2.
All right, thank you. We could go ahead and take a roll call vote for the nomination of Mr. Miller as chair.
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Board Member Miller.
Yes.
Board Member Kloss.
Yes.
Board Member Ara Kellyan.
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger.
Yes.
Board Member Klein.
Yes.
And Board Member Motisha.
Yes.
Thank you. That passes.
Thank you, you guys, I think. My term concludes in June. Is that going to be a problem?
Not if you stay on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll deal with it at that point. You can either reapply or we'll have to elect a new chair. But I'll let you take it from here, Chair Miller, for the appointment of vice chair.
All right, I'd like to open the floor for nominations for vice chair for Single Family Design Board. May I have any nominations, please?
I would like to nominate Leslie Kloss.
Okay, any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Ohan Arakelian.
Okay, anyone else?
I would like to nominate Katie Klein.
Okay, so we have Katie Klein, Ohan Arakelian, and Leslie Kloss. So let's first start with Leslie Kloss. May I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Chair Miller.
Yes.
Board Member Kloss.
No.
Board Member Ara Kellyan.
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger.
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha. Sorry, Board Member Motisha, was that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 5-1.
So that, my understanding is do we proceed with the other two, or does that kind of seal the deal?
I believe we will vote for all three.
Okay.
Pop on and let me know if I'm wrong.
All right, I'd like to open up the vote floor for Ohan Arakelian. May I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Chair Miller,
No?
Board Member Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger,
No.
Board Member Klein,
No.
Board Member Motisha.
No.
Thank you. That fails 4-2.
All right. Moving on to Board Member Klein. May I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Chair Miller,
No.
Board Member Kalas,
No.
Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger,
No.
Board Member Klein,
No.
Board Member Motisha.
No.
Thank you. That fails 5-1.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, Leslie, I guess you and I are on it again.
Entrenched.
Thank you very much, you guys. I really appreciate the honor of being your chair. So we will move forward now. Let's move on to item C, public comment. Did we have any member of the public that may address the board for up to 2 minutes on any subject within its jurisdiction that is not scheduled on this agenda or for a public discussion?
Chair Miller, we skipped item B, appointment of consent review.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem. This is just more of an announcement.
Sure.
For consent reviewers, we will continue with the same 3 board members, which are Motisha, Kolas, and Miller, on a 3-month rotation for architectural review, and with board member Klein serving continually for landscape until we get another landscape professional on the board. This rotation switches every 3 months, and for Vice Chair Kolas is in rotation now as of January 24th.
Well, excuse me, but I think the last 2 weeks I have not been on because I was informed that I was off that consent calendar. Is that true, or am I?
You're not one of the reviewers for this 3-month period. You did the last 3 months. So that was just informing you that your 3 months was up, and Vice Chair Kolas is taking her turn, but you are still in the rotation. So we'll let you know when you're back up.
I was just questioning the last 2 weeks. I was informed 2 weeks ago that I was being in the rotation, and Leslie Kloss was going to take over, and I'm just hoping that I didn't miss 2 weeks of being on the consent when you just.
No, you didn't.
Thank you.
Sure. And also, Chair Miller, there are no subcommittee
Okay.
at this time.
Chair Miller, can I interrupt here for a second?
Sure. Yes.
I need to leave. I wanted to be here for this chair and vice chair elections, but I need to leave for a cardiac.
Oh.
What do they call it? Cardiovascular. My heart guy has got an appointment, and I have to keep it today at 4 o'clock. My doctor.
Okay.
At a quarter, I have to sign out at 3:45. I apologize, but I don't want to put this doctor off.
I understand. I still think we maintain a quorum. Is that correct? Ms. Burkhart?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Motisha. Let us know, and yes, it's good to take care of yourself. Okay, moving back to item C, did we get any public comment, Ms. Burkhardt?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on an item not on today's agenda, please raise your hand following the directions on screen and clicking the hand icon at the bottom of your screen. Ms. Fennessy, while we wait for hands, did we receive any written correspondence for items not on today's agenda?
Thank you. We did not receive any general public comments. And at this time, I do not see any hands raised, so I'll hand it back to the board.
All right, let's move it on to the first item of our agenda. Oh, we got an approval of minutes. So let's approve the Single Family Design Board minutes for December 20th, 2021. May I have a motion for approval, please?
I'll move.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's go through the items, please. Item 1, 2, wait. You went too far. 210 Los Alturas Road. Okay, moving on to item 2. 3333 Bramer Drive. Okay, moving on to item 3, 2808 Clinton Terrace. Okay. Item 4, 1241 East Coda Street. All right, hearing no comments or changes. Oh, one more item, sorry. 1239 East Coda Street.
Chair Miller, I would like to ask the board if you would consider amending the motion for item 4 here to include language stating that the project conforms to the design review criteria of Planning Commission Resolution 1805. As you did with item 5 of this agenda. If you recall, the two projects are adjacent to one another and were kind of spoken about as one large project. So I would just like to ask you to consider adding that to the motion of item 4 as well as item 5.
So do we need a roll call vote for that, or is that just a comment that needs to be added to the minutes?
That's a good question.
This is Ellen Kokenda. I think it might be best if when someone makes a motion to approve the minutes, that they could include that amendment with the motion, and then we could amend the minutes that way so that it's captured. I think that might be the best way to do it.
Okay, great. All right, I believe I mentioned the last item, so may I have a roll call? And included in the roll call is the amendment stated by Ms. Burkhardt on item number 4, including the Planning Commission comments. As in item number 5.
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas.
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian.
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger.
I prefer to abstain from the vote on the 20th, only because I was not present at the meeting.
Thank you. Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
I have a feeling he left. Joe, are you around? I think he's gone.
Sorry,
Still in the meeting.
Oh, there he is. He walked away. Okay.
trying to do 10 things at once.
And Mr. Motisha, I think that we're doing roll call for the minutes. So we just need your vote if you approve the motion to approve the minutes.
Am I on?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
thank you, and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our consent items.
Chair Miller, we have one more set of full board minutes to get through.
Oh, okay.
January 18th.
Okay, going on to January 18th, 2022. May I have a motion for approval, please?
I move we approve.
Thank you. May I have a second? Okay, thank you, Board Member Motisha. Can we go scroll through the items, please? Item 1, 1384 Shoreline Drive. Item 2, 1510 Santa Rosa Avenue. Item 3, 20 El Prado Place. Item number 4, 1135 Harbor Hills Lane. Okay, hearing no comments or changes, may I have roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll begin roll call. Vice Chair Kalas,
I'm going to abstain. I was not present for that meeting.
Board Member Arakalian,
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to the consent calendar for December 13th, 2021. Ms. Burkhart, can we go through those items, please?
Sure.
Oh, wait, you have to have emotional approval, please. Sorry.
I move to approve.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second it.
All right. Ms. Burkhart, you have the floor.
Yes, item A was for 860 Summit Road. The action was for final approval as submitted. Item B was for 567 Litchfield Lane. The action was for project design approval and final approval with comments. And the reviewers, if I remember correctly, were Motisha and Klein. Ms. Riddell, if we could scroll to the top of the minutes and just confirm that I'm correct. Yes, that's correct. So we can just take
All
a
right,
roll
thank-
call.
Yes, may I have a roll call, please? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll
That's
start the
distracting.
roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Ara Kellyan,
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to consent items for, is this the next items?
Yes, Chair Miller, this is the next. item.
Okay, for January 10th, 2022. May I have a motion for approval, please?
I move to approve.
Thank you. Excuse me, may I have a second?
I'll second.
If we can go through the items, please.
Yes, item A was for 606 Sea Ranch Drive. The action was to continue to the administrative hearing officer with comments. Item B was for 612 Alston Road. The action was for project design approval and final approval with comments. And item C was for 1459 Crestline Drive. The action was for project design approval and final approval. And I can't remember the reviewers. I think it was Chair Miller and Board Member Klein.
I was there for the 24th.
Okay, I'm sorry. The reviewers were Motisha and Klein.
All right, thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Ara Kellyan,
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
I asked a question. When we give these minutes for the consent minutes, do we just state what they were after, or do we? I'm noticing that we do not state what was the motion that was passed by the consent at the consent meeting. Do we not state that, or we just let it?
Board Member Motisha and to the rest of the board, we state the action that was taken.
Okay, so we don't state it.
The action is what was in the motion. So we are stating basically the motion, and we don't go through every single word of it, but it's up here on the screen.
I remember one that I didn't give my consent, and we extended it to the full board, and maybe we haven't got to that one yet. All right, continue.
Okay.
Okay, I think we had a roll call for that. So moving on to the next consent for January 24th, I believe.
31st.
Okay, I'm a little confused. All right. Okay, yeah, moving on to consent approval for January 31st, 2022. May I have a motion for approval, please?
I'll move.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Burkhart, we can go through the items, please.
Item A was for 925 Jimeno Road. The action was for final approval as submitted. Item B was for 1617 Mountain Avenue. The action was for project design approval and final approval with comments. Item C was for 3236 Laurel Canyon Road. The action was to continue indefinitely to consent for project design approval and final approval with comments.
Ms. Burkhart, may I ask a question in regards to item B?
Sure.
There was public comment that was received from a Mr. Ross on that. And I'm wondering if somebody from staff or building could follow up with him in regards to his concern about common property line fence.
Sure. Yes, we'll definitely follow up with him.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Collas,
I apologize. Can I see the comments that were captured for item C? That item was continued. I just want to make sure that those were captured properly. We're going through this real quickly, and this happened earlier today. So it's item C. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, is my vote.
thank you. Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha, Board Member Motisha, and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
And Chair Miller, it does look like we forgot to bring minutes for January 24th, 2022. So we'll bring those to our next full board meeting. And Mr. Motisha, I believe those minutes contain the project that you're concerned about.
Yes, that's why I'm, yeah, question.
Yeah,
Okay,
bring them back. Sorry about that.
yeah, oh, yeah, that was an interesting consent meeting. All right, moving on to item F. Any announcements, requests by applicants or continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items and appeals? Ms. Burkhart, do we have any of those?
No announcements from me today, Chair Miller.
Okay. All right, moving on to item G, subcommittee reports. I do not believe we have any at this time. Is that correct?
Correct, no subcommittee reports.
Okay, I do have one quick question. Sorry, has there been any conversation or are we still doing remotely in terms of conducting these meetings?
Still remote. We'll definitely let you know as soon as we hear otherwise.
Okay,
And Mr. Chair, this is Ellen Kokind again.
Hi.
I can say that you might notice that City Council has begun meeting in council chambers with maybe very limited staff in the council chambers with them.
okay,
But we have not received any direction as to hosting meetings indoors and moving back into the Gebhardt room. But as Ms. Burkhart said, we would notify you as soon as that policy change is in place, or, you know, because it's going to take a little bit of time
Sure.
to kind of understand like how to do things safely. So
Mhm.
we will let you know as soon as that comes in.
All right, yeah, everything's quite fluid, has always been. All right, thank you. With that being said, let's move on to our first item. This is a continued item. Final approval is requested. It's 116 Santa Cruz Boulevard. Proposal to construct a 175 square foot first floor addition and a new 691 square foot second story to an existing single unit residence. The project includes an 181 square foot second floor wraparound balcony at the south and west elevations and a 154 square foot second floor balcony at the east elevation, with a metal spiral stair that provides access to an 80 square foot roof deck. Demolition of the existing roof and existing wood decks would occur as part of the project. A new roof is proposed to be finished with standing seam metal roofing material. The project also includes an interior remodel, new windows and door throughout, and replacement of the existing wood siding with a smooth plaster finish. The proposed 3,020 square foot of development on a 9,415 square foot lot is 85% of the required maximum floor to lot area ratio. Final approval is requested. Project requires substantial conformance to the plan that received project design approval on September 27th, 2021, which is when the project was last reviewed. Vice Chair Colossus, do we have minutes that we could read into the record?
I guess I would ask staff if they do have them available. I'm happy to read them into the record. If they could bring
Yes.
them up on the screen.
Here they are. Thank you.
And you don't have to word, and just to save you, Leslie, you don't have to speak word for word, kind of a synopsis.
Yeah, I
You knew that.
That's right.
understood in terms of the NPO findings, especially. It gets a
Right.
little bit repetitive. Okay, so the motion that was made on September 27th of last year was that the project, let's see, the project was given design approval and continued indefinitely to return to the full board for final approval with the following comment. 1, the neighborhood preservation ordinance criteria were met as stated in subsection 22.69.050 of the city municipal code. And I will not enumerate the subsections, but it met all of those qualifications. Item 2, the board recommends the applicant study using gravel instead of decomposed granite in the parkways. The separating the artificial planter areas with a simpler header, and the applicant shall add the accurate canopy and heights to the renderings of the by Kleins and by Motisha, and it carried 6-0. The 10-day appeal was then announced.
All right, thank you. Do we have a representative for the project? And if you can, please just kind of go through the items that we have on the minutes there. Keep it simple.
Chair Miller, Ray, and Sherry Oaks are here to present their project.
All right, welcome.
I ask you to unmute.
Okay. You gotta move over a little bit. Sorry, we're both
Okay.
here.
Oh, you have
Okay,
the.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hi, and just to help you out, you guys, all you really need to talk about are the items that were on the minutes. So you don't have to go through the whole project again since we've already reviewed it and approved it.
Right, yeah, we were planning on that. We just had one item we had to bring up. So on motion 1, relating to using the gravel instead of the GG, we will install landscaping rock, which is common around our neighborhood. This change is updated in the updated landscape plan, which is on PDF page 16. You want to go to that one? Just to show, yeah. So you can see that the area around the next to the Santa Cruz Boulevard and the other one. So we did want to mention that after the last meeting, we asked around to find out who's required and allowed to landscape the city parkway by our front door in Santa Cruz. We were told by Jessica Grant, who's the supervising transportation planner in Public Works, that an encroachment permit from Public Works may be required. So we'll have to obtain that to put gravel in that area. So automatically doesn't go there. Also, a request has been submitted to the city to add a sidewalk for the 1,000 Steps Beach access, since there's no sidewalk in the first block of Santa Cruz Boulevard, the 100 block north of Shoreline. So when that's built, it will go in the city right-of-way area in front of our house where the landscaping rock is placed now. On the second motion about using a simpler header, we will separate all trees from the turf with ProFlex polyethylene landscape edging as shown on the landscape plan that you're looking at there. We chose this over metal because ProFlex is more flexible for making tight circles around trees and safer for kids. The edging placement will allow for 4 feet of walking space between trees to give the backyard the appearance of going beyond the tree line and a more open feel. We have also replaced a large portion of the turf in the backyard with landscaping rock as suggested by Chair Miller at the September 27th meeting. This rock will be placed outside the edging of the existing date palm and avocado trees and the proposed plum tree in the southeast corner and assist with stormwater management.
The third motion was about adding accurate tree height and canopy size to the renderings of the existing tree materials, was presumably aimed at protecting our closest neighbor's privacy with regards to the approved rooftop deck. The two trees in question were the avocado in the southeast corner, which is 22 feet tall and 22 feet in diameter. And the date palm next to it is 24 feet tall, 30 feet in diameter. And they're shown on page 17. When you go to page 17, you'll see a table. And the table shows the height and the spread of the trees along with the possible spread when it gets fully grown. So it's a lot bigger. If you look at the two pictures, you'll see that the date palm is up against the avocado. So you can see about they're the same height. Now, the motion mentioned about adding it to the renderings. We submitted a rendering file to the city. And if you want to see that, you should be able to see it, or the city should be able to provide it for you if you actually want to see the rendering. But these pictures are actual pictures from the yard. And just a reminder that we did meet the neighborhood preservation ordinance criteria at the September 27th meeting for the privacy of the date palm and the avocado tree to protect our neighbors in the backyard. But that's also shown in the file that we submitted. And the last thing that we want to bring up is we had some minor window changes as we were going through the structural engineering drawings. We had to change some of the windows and doors. The main ones were replacing the moving glass wall systems on both floors with regular patio doors. And we reduced the width of the bedroom windows to 3 feet where they were wider than that. Two views that we can go to that shows the renderings for most of these is on page 11. So if we go to page 11, please. And it kind of shows the views. The bottom two views, if you could expand those as much as possible, please. Or can you?
Just the bottom two,
Yeah,
not the top four. Thank you.
okay. But looking at the one on the left, by the front door, that window, we actually made it so that there's screens on, windows on both sides that move in for screens. And then in the second floor, when we go to the second floor, we made it so that we're in the very middle on the second floor to the left. We made it so that that window opens so that we can get airflow. And then also on the second floor, where you look right above the door to the right, those windows were reduced from 4 feet wide to 3 feet wide in that bedroom. There's two windows there. In the kitchen, which is the first one that's to the right of the front door, that window was reduced to 30 inches to match the width of the range. And we added another 30-inch window beside that. But that's shown in both pictures. And then on the picture on the right, you'll notice that there's just a single patio door there instead of 3 doors in a pocket. So we had to reduce that, and we added a little window that matches the window on the living room on the front side of the house, the north side of the house, that's beside those patio doors. Upstairs, instead of a 4-panel moving wall system, we put 2 sets of patio doors. That way we have a support in the middle of it. So it looks about the same. It's just that we have a support in the middle. The other one that you can't see by these two pictures, in the garage, we had a 4x4 window in the center, and we put in 2 windows that's 2 feet tall by 3 feet up high on the ends. So we separated it out so that we can get storage inside of our garage, but it's going to be back behind the palm tree. And then on the west side, on the east side of the house, bedroom number 1 had a window that was 4 feet wide and 2 feet tall, and we just modified that 3 feet wide, 2 feet tall. And it matches the ones in bedroom number 2. So they're all the same. And that's all we have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Burkhart, did we get any public comment, please?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand by clicking the hand icon located at the bottom of your screen. while we wait for hands, Ms. Fennessy, did we receive any written correspondence for this item?
Thank you. We did not receive any written correspondence for this item. And at this time, I do not see any hands raised, so I'll hand it back to the board.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm moving it back to the board for questions. Vice Chair Colas, do you have any questions, please?
I just have one question, and I appreciate the applicant's concise review of the issues that are before us. I think it would be helpful if we might be able to look at the last iteration of the, it's sheet 7 of the PDF from the previous hearing, just because it was like there have been administration changes for being asked to make a substantial conformance determination. I think it would be helpful to be able to look at those side by side just to reassure ourselves that the project before us really is in essence what we saw before. Is that something that staff could bring up?
I'm not sure that we can do side by side so easily, but we can flip back and forth.
Okay.
Yes, that's accurate. It might take Ms. Rydell just a minute to pull up the other plans too. And
Okay.
just to make sure we have the date on that.
This that we're looking at is the older
Okay.
set from last time. The
Yes,
PDF.
just to clarify, these are the old plans. And as they're pulling out, these are the new plans. So you can just have me toggle back and forth and you can look at the tabs at the top of the screen to know which set you're looking at.
Okay, so if I could ask that you just zoom in on, for example, the proposed north elevation in both iterations, and we can take one, then the other one, and do that for each element quickly. So this is the prior iteration or the current iteration?
Prior. You can see the tab at the top of the screen says old plans.
Oh, okay, perfect, okay. Okay, and then the new, please. Okay, and then if we can look at the next elevation. Okay, and then the other iteration. Okay, thank you. Go on to the south.
Yeah.
Okay, and the proposed, please.
Say something. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes,
can we say something?
sure.
Okay, on this specific diagram,
Mhm.
these are going to look the same because we do not have our architect at this time that can make those changes to that drawing. They're made on the rest of the drawings. They're made on the renderings.
Mm-hmm.
So they're made it in the main plans. They're made it on the structural drawings. But because of the way this is with all the lines and everything, we would have had a hard time trying to make these without the architect and the drawings, and we could not find somebody that could do that for us. So this page is off a little bit compared to what the actual drawings show. But our structural drawings reveal what we have presented to you. And you're going to see these are off a little bit with the, like the doors up above and down below.
So,
we did
so I
submit
just
a
want to
comment.
repeat. I just want to repeat what you're saying then, so that I'm understanding. I'm just going to repeat what I think I heard you just say to make sure that we're all communicating.
Yes.
So your models, the 3D models that are included, or the renderings that are included in this set of drawings before us as proposed today, are accurate, and so are the structural drawings. But the exterior elevations are still reflecting the prior approved set of drawings. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay,
So we did submit a separate thing with everything rendered with the window changes. It's a separate file, but it was not included in these plans for you to look at. I mean, it's in your system. Like on, for example, on this one, you're looking at the south elevation. The difference is it's 2 sliding doors and a small window rather than the 3. I mean, they were very minor changes, but they are in for you to, we depicted them for you to see. We just couldn't change these without having access to the architectural program that our architect had been using, which we no longer had access to.
Okay.
But on the
so-
door and window schedule, they're all corrected on the door
Yes,
and window
They're
schedule.
all correct. All the structural drawings, all that, all of those have the correct dimensions, everything, the window schedules, the door schedules, everything's right.
Okay, so the exercise that I'm attempting to go through right now is effectively moot, because
Yes.
all elevations will look the same,
Yes.
both the old and the new.
That's
Is
correct.
that correct?
Sorry, we should have cut you off sooner. We're just like, well.
That's okay. I appreciate you cutting
a
me
test
off now.
to
Rather,
see if
okay.
you could tell that they had.
Okay. Okay, so let's not continue this anymore. This won't help anymore. And I guess Chair Miller, I'm going to look to you here for some direction, because
Yeah.
it makes this difficult for us to make a substantial conformance determination when we don't have accurate
That's
On
drawings.
the page that you were looking at, page 11, those 2 renderings, those are rendered with the correct windows the way they look now. But we were showing you at the bottom 2, they
Yeah,
show the exact
okay, well,
same
here's the
thing.
thing that's kind of the sticking point, is the fact that the elevations, the 2D elevations of the actual structural drawings, and that's kind of based on our approvals. These are renderings.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah,
you-
but we didn't change.
Well, hold on, let me
anything.
finish. Let me please finish. So it's
Okay.
kind of, you put us in an awkward position. So is it my understanding that Jonathan's no longer on this project?
That's
Yes,
correct.
He walked off,
You walked off.
yes.
Okay.
And we tried for a month to find somebody else to pick this up, and they all said
Yeah.
that no one would pick it up. And so basically everything other than the 3D picture that are the elevations you're looking at, but I did, yeah, I mean, nothing changed about the highest house except
Okay.
the size. of the
Well,
So
windows.
can I make a recommendation, Chair
Sure,
Miller?
go
'Cause
ahead.
I mean, I know this has come in front of us like 3 times, and I would like to help these people move
Sure.
forward.
Yes.
But I think we're in a compromised position to maybe do that right now. So I believe that the extra elevations that the clients have in front of us are in a PDF format. And I'm wondering if they would be able to just mark up on the PDF the changes that occurred. They could do that very easily with a PDF markup with just a box diagram showing us how the sizes of the windows have changed. And then
We
perhaps
submitted
this could
a whole
be,
File that has all that information in it.
Okay, well, please let Ms. Colossus finish, please.
Hey, sorry,
It's just that one
that?
page, that one
the
page.
elevation?
I'm thinking that if they could do that and just submit that as a document for record, that perhaps we could continue this to consent and give it final approval on consent next week. That's my thought about how to move forward here.
Okay, so let's put that on the table at the moment. Let's go through the rest of the board and see if they have any questions, and we'll come back to that. How about that? So let's move on to Board Member Arakalian. Do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
All right, thank you. Board Member Brent Linger, do you have any questions, please?
I only had one question, which may go to staff. I'm not sure who the right entity is to answer this. Was one of the findings was that it was consistent with the neighborhood character. And I was wondering if there was in either the prior submittal or someplace else any portrayal of the streetscape on or the neighboring houses on either side of this house.
Yeah.
Mr. Brentlinger, the project has received project design approval, so those findings have been made, and they did at that time present photos of the general neighborhood and the streetscape to help the board make the findings.
Okay, that's great. No other questions.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any questions, please?
Yes. Do you have a spec for the gravel? What type of gravel you were using?
No.
What I think all we have is what we have actually been communicating with Jim Rumley and the stormwater management about that gravel, because he asked us a question about that specifically, and we had to submit some stuff on Friday for him that Barbara could probably comment on that he passed with regard to the gravel in the back.
To make sure there's plenty of drainage through the gravel. So in the gravel on the street, there's a lot, it looks like probably 1 to 3 inch kind of a brownish colored gravel. And that's what everybody's putting out by the road, if that's. But
yeah,
no,
I think, excuse me if I could speak. I think what Board Member Klein is asking, if you have a specific description of what that type of gravel is?
No.
Color and size.
No.
Okay.
We would have to get that.
The other question is in that landscape plan, you had a detail of a block wall, and I just was wondering if you are doing that somewhere, because in the renderings, it looks like a stucco wall with a cap. So I just wanted to make sure that that's what you are using, and there's no
it is
Allen block wall.
Are you talking about the one that's around the outer perimeter of the property?
Yeah, just in general. If you go maybe to the next sheet, the
I was
landscape
going to say
sheet.
around the outer perimeter, there will be.
Okay, see the cinder block wall?
Oh, that will be what supports any stuff. That's for the pavers for the patio, the edge of the patio and the bed that goes around that.
Got it. Could you point out where those are located, those blocks?
If you go back up to where it shows the landscaping plan, and if you see the blue where the patio is, it'll be along the edge of that, and then it shows a bunch of plants in the planter, and then the outer wall of that right before the grass.
So that outer wall material is what? Is that
it
cinder
be,
block?
No, it'll be paving stuff. It'll be like wall stones. And I think we have that those stones in with our landscaping stuff. Which ones?
It won't be that tall all the way around.
There should at most be about 1 to 1.5 stones at most be showing above the ground.
Okay. Do you know what kind of stone that is? Is it a veneer? Is it a stacked stone?
It's a stacked stone. It's in the list of we showed all the landscaping stuff. I'm sorry, the exterior features stuff. I don't know what page that is without looking. The color board sort of page.
I think that may be page 12 of the PDF.
Well,
Yeah, It's down near the bottom. Yeah,
Right.
it's next to the, on the bottom right corner, the second one over from the right. Yeah, that one right
I
there.
see.
Yeah, you can enlarge that if you want. There you go.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Those are my only questions.
All right, thank you. Board Member Motisha, do you have any questions, please? Or has he left? I assume he's gone. Is that correct? Ms. Burkhart?
I'm still showing him here, but
I see his name.
yeah, I'll ask him to unmute. He might have just walked away without
Yeah, because I think he
officially
had.
leaving.
I'm not
I
sure.
think,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair, although we see his name or the box for him, I think that he did say he had to leave a quarter till
Okay.
4. So
All
I
right.
just assume unless he shows up again, we can proceed.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you. Vice Chair Kalas, do you have any comments, please?
No, I have no other comments other than the recommendation I made previously in order to try to move this forward.
Okay, great. Board Member Arakalian, do you have any comments?
I do. So upon reviewing the updated 3D renderings and the door and window schedule, I believe the proposed fenestration adjustments are aesthetically appropriate. I do want to go to page 16. This is the Lance L 1.1.
I'm so sorry, Board Member Arkelian, I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you repeat where you would like me to navigate?
16, I think.
L 1.1, page 16, yes.
Oh,
So I appreciate the applicants providing heights of the existing date palm and avocado trees. I would suggest if there were to be another planting slightly west of the avocado tree to allow for additional screening from the viewing deck up top. But if the rest of the board is okay with it as is, then I'll be fine. I'll be fine with the proposed landscape plan. And those are my comments. Thanks.
all right, thank you. Board Member Bettlinger, do you have any comments, please?
Only that I appreciate the work on the house, and I think that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any comments, please? And kind of a follow-up to what Board Member Arakalian's comments were?
Yeah, can we quickly just go to, I think it's the next sheet that says what that orange plant is, that orange circle, and you can see what they're planting there. Okay, so it's bird of paradise, so not very tall. We can go back to the next sheet, or the previous one we were just looking at.
That is
So-
8 foot tall.
Yes. So I would say I'd be in favor of maybe another avocado tree over there. So that would provide some more height eventually, taller than 8 feet to provide more privacy. I would also like to see what the spec is for the gravel. I don't know what you told Jim Rumbly, but I recommend a 3/8 inch angle cut, and a nice color is Hanley Gold, but I'll leave that up to you. But just a smaller angle gravel is nice because it locks in place and is permeable. And those are my comments.
That may be what everybody has.
Okay, thank you. My comments are, I got some good comments here. And a follow-up what Vice Chair Kalas said. My feeling is that just for the sake of getting this through correctly, I liked her suggestion if you could come back to consent, just kind of marking up quickly what those windows shapes are so that it's correctly on record, that we did approve that as drawn as opposed to kind of guessing what they look like, even though you do have them on the renderings. I don't think that would be an issue, considering the comment that Board Member Arakalian said with his findings. Also, there were several comments about the landscaping that should be included in the motion. So with that being said, would someone like to entertain a motion?
Chair Miller, if I could interrupt quickly.
Sure.
I said this earlier. I was just like Board Member Brentlinger to confirm for the record that he did review the previous plans, minutes, and video of this project.
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
as well as the others up for consideration today.
Great. Thank you for confirming.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion. I'll
Thank
make a
you.
motion that the item be continued to consent calendar with the following comments. That the applicants mark up sheet A 2.1, which is the 7th sheet of this PDF set, with dashed lines that illustrate the new configurations or the overall outlines of any of the window and door openings that have changed since this iteration dated November 17th of 21. And that they include a specification for the gravel, either as preferred or as recommended by Ms. Klein. And that they consider the addition of a secondary avocado tree in the, I want to make sure I'm denoting the correct corner here. I believe it would be the south
And look at the picture.
east corner, if north is up on the page. Yes, in the southeast corner of the property adjacent to the existing avocado. That's my motion.
All right, thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
The other
Okay.
it goes from the
May I have a roll call, please?
garage.
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Arakalian,
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Is this applicable since it's going to consent? I guess not. All right, moving on to item 2, 118 Remetto Road. This is a continued item. Final approval is requested. Proposal for a new 3,632 square foot single family residence with a 1,203 square foot basement and 761 square foot detached garage to be constructed on a vacant 1.42 acre lot. A minor zoning exception was granted on October 11, 2021, allowing the trash enclosure to be located in the front yard. The proposed 4,995 square foot of development on a 61,855 square foot lot is 96% of the guideline for the lot area ratio. Final approval is requested. Project requires substantial conformance to the plans that received project design approval on October 11th, 2021, which was when the project was last reviewed. Do we have the minutes from that meeting? If Vice Chair Kalas, if you'd like to read them into the record, that'd be great.
Okay, the motion made on October 11th of last year was that the project be given design approval and returned to the full board for final approval with the following comments. The board is supportive of the slightly higher FAR given the size of the lot. The nature of the architecture and site design is compatible with the neighborhood. Hillside Design District and slope lot criteria were met. The neighborhood preservation ordinance criteria were met as cited in subsection 22.69.050 of the City of Santa Barbara Muni Code. The board supports the minor zoning exception for the trash enclosure as well as the Southern California Edison requirements. The action was made by myself, followed by Motisha, seconded by Motisha, and it carried 6-0. And the 10-day appeal period was then announced.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a representative for the project? So basically, it's just to make sure all the detailing that matches what we've approved.
Hello, Mr. Chair. This is Chris Gillen, the landscape architect. I see that Mark Weinke, the architect, is listed under attendees and should be promoted to panelist.
Okay.
Sorry, can you give me the name one more time, please, Mr. Gillian?
Yeah, Mark Weinke. It's in all
Okay,
caps.
great. Thank you. Okay, we're promoting him now. He'll be joining as a panelist momentarily.
There he is.
Here I am.
Hello, Mr. Winke.
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Okay, I guess you asked who's going to talk. So my name is Mark Winke, representing the project. I guess in short, everything is exactly to a certain degree as we had just submitted in October. Chris has got a lot of drawings to show the revised and improved landscape plan. So if you start first off by zooming into this first cover sheet, which is PDF number 1, to the rendering, familiarize everybody with the project again. It's on Remeto Drive. The driveway comes up from Remeto up the hill, and the motor court is in the back. The garage is slightly raised up from the motor court because it's on a slope. And then the house is this basically U shape facing south. Down the hill is the pool deck. Down the hill even further is the landscaping, and Chris will talk about that extensively. To the left-hand corner, as most of the it's buried in that area, there's the basement area. It peeks out. Can you see that section there? That's the area that's considered the basement courtyard area that I'll talk about. All right, let's go to renderings on page 55. Is this 55?
Yeah.
I got 69 on mine. What is this? Oh, so go back a few pages. Keep going. Sorry about this. It looks like the set was reduced even further. Number 1. It probably would be the other direction.
This is good anyway. We get to kind of peruse through your drawings. So
They're there. I guess page 1 was the same. Oh yeah, there, stop. Okay, so here's a sheet that shows all of the renderings if you want to zoom through. Basically, it's the same as before. mostly a stucco building, red tile, two-piece roof tile. Walls and retaining walls as shown here with stone veneer and chip seal driveway. You know, the usual wood timbers for trellises. Chris will talk more about some of the other detailing stuff, but there we put a tree in the middle of the motor court. It's a very kind of Andalusian rural design with very small, basically zero eaves with copper gutters or yeah, and stone veneer on part of it. Overall feeling is a farmhouse style, rural farmhouse style with maybe old house added onto over the years.
Mr. Wimke, if you could kind of specifically go through the detailing to make sure the detailing matches what you've designed, that'd be great.
Okay. The page was 49. No, I'm assuming it's 20 something. All right, so that's number, one more, 502, 501. There you go. So basically, these sheets show the wall sections with and without veneer, the window and bifold door sections, and the window detailing with the stone veneer, and a window detailing with plaster. Let me skip to the next few. Let's see, this is 40, this is 27. It's the gate below, and the footings, and keep going, I guess. Keep going. I think we passed them. Go up to, this is 3. Okay, go 2 more, up 2 more. 23, okay, 1 more. There you go. So these 4 pages from here down are all the sections keyed in with the detailing. Just flip through these going down to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. Next. This is the last one. Next one. Yeah, that's the detached garage. And I guess back then to the aerials, I mean, sorry, elevations, which would be like in page 20. No, maybe page 18. I'm guessing because it's different PDFs now. So that's 105. Go to the next one. There you go. Pretty good guess. Those are the materials, basically the same as before. The Tuscan stone blend is used throughout the house and in the retaining wall veneers. All the detailing is the same, clipped eaves, clipped rake. Like I said, rural farmhouse style. Go to the next one. And I think that's it for the elevations. Try one more. Yeah, that's just the garage. As you know already, it's mostly buried on 2 sides. Yeah, I think that's it. If you wanted to go back to page 2, it shows the site plan again. I believe, yeah, there you go. So that shows the aerial site plan. Everything in black and white is the existing conditions, the neighboring houses. The portion in the middle obviously is the site with the colored areas. The yellow area is the house. And I think you can tell from this and from the other parts of it that's all been nicely detailed and overly detailed potentially.
Okay.
And there it goes.
That looks great. Chris, do you have anything you want to talk about with the landscaping? And basically, I'm saying this, there's kind of a 15-minute limit, and they forgot to put the clock up, so I want to make sure everything is covered.
I see a little clock, 11 minutes, 30 seconds.
Oh, we have plenty of time. Okay, good.
So let's go to the last pages then. I think, what was it? Around 55-ish, maybe 54.
Yeah.
I'll be short. I always am. So go back a little bit. I think a few pages, we have irrigation to start. One more, I think that might be it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it. Okay. So yeah, one down, 51. So irrigation, you probably reviewed that already leading up to this, but what this does show is that sort of little, I guess they're calling it a little gentleman's vineyard in the middle of the page there, just drip irrigation through that zone. And then we don't have any lawn areas. So the only overhead spray is within in the upper left-hand corner there, a little, what do we call it, Mark? A little cistern open for rainwater catchment. And so the next page, and so I divided my site into two sections. So this is just the other section of the irrigation plan up towards the house. Again, all drip throughout. And so next page is the planting plan. Kind of went with a, I guess, semi-formal entry, kind of French inspired. There was a place in Ojai the client liked a lot. I forgot the name offhand, but kind of get a rhythm going up the driveway. And then we have sort of hedges 10 feet off the driveway on either side on the left as you come up, so that when the vineyard doesn't look great certain parts of the year, it's sort of screened off. And then right side just to sort of balance that. And we added, and again, this was already on the previous review, but 1, 2, 3, 4, like 8 olive trees out front, down by the road, meeting out front, and low hedge there, along with the pool fencing that's going to be added behind existing stone walls. The existing stone columns are there. It's just the gates that are new, and the trash area just inside is also new. And a couple olives flanking the entry beyond those gates. So if you go to the next page, planting around the house, it looks a little more wild than it is, but we, had a plant list and kind of chose 2 or 3 plants for each area and kind of mixed it up a little bit, and kind of flanking the house on the east side down on the page, fruit trees, and then behind the garage, additional fruit trees. And you saw a lot of walls, retaining walls, especially at the motor court where we are cascading plants over to help soften those. And so if you have any specific questions about plants, you can ask me. Let's go to the next page. Our fire prevention stuff is on the bottom there. And then it's just planting and irrigation details. And I think we have lighting plans also. So next page. Yeah, lighting, pretty minimal, no up lighting. Some path lights going up the driveway. Actually, those are washing the hedge up the drive, so that plants in front of it will read, and it'll be a nice effect. Next page, I am 8 seconds over, so I'll just wrap it up here. Just kind of mostly safety lighting. There's a lot of steps on those terraces, and so lighting that up, down lighting a little bit in the arbors, and some wall lights in that leading up to the motor court, and a few down lights in the existing oak tree, and a little fountain in the middle of the motor court. And that's about it.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Burkhart, did we get any public comment, please?
Sorry, Ms. Burkhardt had to step away momentarily, but
Okay.
I can go ahead and do public comments. So if you
Sure.
wish to speak on this particular item, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon, and that indicates to us that you wish to speak. And you will receive an unmute request. And right now, let's see, I'm looking at the attendees and I don't see any hands raised at the moment, but I would like to ask Ms. Fennessy if we received any written correspondence.
Thank you. We did not receive any written correspondence for this item. And at
Okay,
this,
go ahead. All right, it's still no hands. So Mr. Chair, back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Vice Chair Colas, do you have any questions, please?
Only question I have for Mr. Wenke is the light fixtures above the garage doors on the east facade of the garage. Have those light fixtures been specified?
I believe so. They're the same as near the front door. Let's see, what page was that again?
I just recalled seeing them in elevation.
Yeah.
I'm trying to page through the plans quickly here myself.
I can't remember the number.
There's a note. I think it says EF1, or is that just the exterior finish of the plaster maybe?
I gotta flip through my old set here, the one that was 69 pages.
Yeah, okay, now the red dash is gone.
Towards the very end of that, just before my plans, there's a lighting plan for the first story. It's E101, and so it would be somewhere around page 48, maybe. I'm not seeing the garage yet for lighting, but first story's there. Try the next page. Yeah, that shows the building at the house.
Keep going, I think it's a couple after that.
Try the next sheet. Basement. Next. No.
The first elevation, second elevation sheet and the first elevation sheet, which again, I'm not sure if it's 28 maybe, or. It's A201, so it's probably 20 something. Yeah, let's go back. Threes. Oh, passed him. Oh, no, you didn't. There you go. One more. Go back one more.
You know, it's a quick comment that I have, and I just capture it in comments. I want to spend an inordinate amount of time on it, Mr. Wenke. I
appreciate it.
The project looks lovely as submitted, and I'll make a quick comment when the time comes for that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Board Member Arakalan, do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
All right, Board Member Brentlinger, do you have any questions, please?
I do have a question for Mr. Gilliland. The landscaping looks wonderful, but I have a question about the vineyard, which is how is that maintained, and is there any sort of equipment that you would expect to be stored on site?
Right. If we can go to maybe the planting plan, which would be 50, I don't know, 6, let's say, 55. Okay, back 1, 2 maybe. So back one more, please. So there is a little mulch ring road, if you will. You can see the sort of tannish color that I think was 8 feet wide. And then in between, so the idea is to get like a little 4-wheeler to use. And I believe, you know, storage there may be a shed or just in the garage to store that. But and the other thing is, I believe they're going to hire someone to care for this the vineyard. So they'll may bring their own equipment, but it was designed so that it's usable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And then just a question about I'm trying to understand I think it was called the rain retention pond. Is that rain retention and is that an existing pond?
No, that's new, and it's, you know, required for stormwater compatibility.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any questions, please?
Just one question. I don't know if this was already said. What is the hardscape material at the patio and pool deck area?
Is this an overlap, Chris?
You can go to the next page. And Mark, I think that's your field.
I think at this point it was concrete, scored concrete.
Do you have a color in mind? Just
Yeah, back on that page that was. It was like a taupe color. I think it was spec'd out as.
I don't know what page that would be. Like a Mesa buff kind of thing?
Yeah, something like that.
sounds good. Thank you. That's my only question.
Okay.
All right,
Sorry
thank
for the
you.
confusion.
I have no questions at this time, so we'll move it back to comments. Vice Chair Colas, do you have any comments, please?
Just one comment. I think the project's beautiful as proposed. I think it's going to be a really lovely project. I really like the relationship of the stone to the stucco and sort of the rural nature of it, kind of nice and decontracted. The reason I was asking for the spec on the light fixtures above the garage doors is they seem to be a little bit disproportionately large relative to that elevation. And so I would just encourage the applicant to look at that closely. It seems like there's sort of a repetitive element around the house, and they might be more successful in areas other than that where there's a little bit less expanse of stucco on that particular facade. It's my only comment.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Arkelian, do you have any comments, please?
I do. I believe the proposed designs are aesthetically appropriate, and I believe this project is ready for final approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Brentlinger, do you have any comments, please?
I would just echo what was just said. I think tremendous amount of work obviously went into this. 52 pages is still a lot of pages, even though it started at 69, but it shows. So that's all I've got to say.
Very good, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any comments, please?
Just that I also think it's in substantial conformance with the previously approved plans.
Okay, thank you. And my follow-up is I echo what everyone just said. So with that being said, would someone like to entertain a motion for final approval?
I'll make a motion for
Okay.
final approval as the project is in substantial conformance with the previously approved plans.
All right, thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Who's second?
Chair Miller, yeah, we need a.
Oh, yeah, I need a second.
I'll
Sorry.
second the motion.
Thank you very much. May I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member R. Kellyan,
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, there is a 10-day appeal period for this process, for this project. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you later.
Take care.
Thank you.
Hey, does, just quickly, let's see, is this scheduled on time? Where are we at our timeline? I can't tell.
I think we're right on.
Okay, I'm just asking, do we need a 5-minute break or do you guys want to move on?
IO break, please.
Move
Can we take a 5-minute break real quick, just so I can take care of my, yeah.
Yes, that's fine.
You bet.
Okay, we'll be back at 4:35.
And if I could just ask everybody to mute themselves and to turn their webcams off during this, because this is still a live feed. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
3, this is 2121 Los Tunas Road. This is a new item for concept review. Proposal to construct a new 4,833 square foot 2-story residence on a, on a vacant lot with a detached 805 square foot garage, covered deck and patio. The project includes a new driveway, a lap pool with an adjacent equipment room and planter bed, and associated site and landscape improvements, including removal of coast live oak trees, one of which is located in the front setback, to be replaced with new replacement oak saplings. The proposed total of 4,680 square foot on a 46,294 square foot lot is 93% of the maximum guideline floor to lot area ratio. No final appealable action will be taken at this meeting. Neighborhood preservation findings and hillside design district and slope lot findings will be required to be made for the project design approval. Do we have a representative for this project? It looks like Mr. Williamson is here.
Yes,
sir.
Chair Miller, Mr. Williamson will present his project. I just wanted to let the board know before we get started that this project is here for concept review, of course, for the entire project, but also specifically to look at the driveway from an aesthetic point of view before the applicant gets too far along in engineering and that type of thing.
Right, we got quite a few public comment about it as well, so thank you.
That's correct. It has been reviewed by transportation, but he does need to provide them with more engineered drawings before they can give a firm yes or no. But he and they are looking for your comments as to the aesthetic supportability of it at this point. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Williamson.
Great, thank you, Barbara. Nice to meet you all on the board. Thank you for giving us this time. I do have my architect on, if you could promote him. His name's Adam Osterhoff. He might interject some comments, but I think I'll be doing most of the speaking today. So just to orient you on the site and our location, page 1 is a good starting point. And I just wanted to make the comment, there are 3 things, as Barbara kind of outlined, there's 3 things that I'd really love the board's feedback on. The first one being around the traffic safety and disruption of the project. That's something that we've gotten a lot of public comment on, so I want to address that on this meeting. The second one is about protection of our coast live oaks. We're very much motivated in keeping and maintaining as much of the live oaks that we have on the property as possible and maintaining the beauty of the land, the vacant land as it is. And then the third item is really about my neighbor's sightline and the architecture. I think those 3 things we could touch on today in this conceptual review. So if you look at the overall area, you'll see Los Tunas Road, which kind of goes up this page as it inclines up to the top of our lot. Our lot is actually the one on the left, which looks like an ear. And the low point of the lot would be that point at the very bottom of the lot. And then it kind of the road arches around to the top. If we can go to page 2, I want to talk about the grading and driveway proposal that we have for the site. We unfortunately made an error, and I am deeply, deeply sorry to my neighbors on Los Tunas Road. I think a few of them might be on the call. If you look at the far left side and where the word Tunas is, and if you hone in on the letter N in Tunas, we cut in a temporary access driveway. If you look at the lot and the topography lines around the edge of the lot, it's very clear there's about an 8-foot bank, which is the bank from the cut-in of Los Tunas Road that goes around the circumference of my lot. There's no way to access, to get any vehicles onto the lot or any drilling equipment for my soils engineering or anything like that. So we did make the mistake of cutting in a temporary driveway. We have since stopped. But I think what that did, unfortunately, is it had a driveway that looked much closer to the blind corner, that right turn as you're coming up, than what we're proposing here. So, you know, first and foremost, we want to comply with the city, the traffic departments. They gave us a range of 85 to 115-foot visibility. They later revised that, and we're complying with a sight line. That's that blue line that goes down from the car that you see there, the 115 feet for that visibility. So I think there's a lot of emotion on our driveway, but I just hope that the board and our neighbors who, my wife and I plan to live in this home for, 30 plus years. We want to be good neighbors, but at the same time, we want to comply with the engineering, the science behind that sightline recommendation from the city. So that's one issue that we will be in compliance with. The other was some public comments around, unfortunately, we knocked some boulders, or the excavator did, down onto the road. And as best practices, I've built several homes in my career. We will have a catch fence around the whole property. We probably would recommend doing a chain link fence, which would be where, if you go actually to the page 3, our next page is a landscape plan. You'll see a hedge that will run the perimeter of the driveway. And that hedge, and extending all the way around, we would propose to put a chain link fence to make sure we capture any dirt, any rocks that would move during construction. So that's the driveway. The second item I had was about maintaining, and we can stay on this page, all the live oaks, the coast live oaks on our property, which are 90% plus of the trees that you see here. We do have an identification of all the trees. I've hired an arborist who came and walked the lot. Obviously, we will use his recommendations for protecting the trees. The driveway where we have it proposed, the reason we're proposing that up top, as opposed, again, on the right side of this graphic, would be the lower level, would be about 60 feet below our front door, is the top driveway has the least impact on the oak trees and our the existing character of the lot, the beauty of the lot. The only other area, and I think one of the written public comments was, you could bring the driveway in from the very bottom. There's two issues I really have with that. Number one is it'd be an extremely long wrapping around driveway to get up to our front door and the garage up top. We'd end up, instead of removing 3 oak trees, which is what you see here on our plan, I count roughly 6 plus oak trees that we'd have to remove to come in from the bottom. I also, having grown up in Southern California and experienced my parents going through some significant land movement and erosion, I'm very, very sensitive to not disrupting the land as much as we can. I worry about cutting in a driveway from the bottom and just all that water runoff and what that might do to the land. Up top, the driveway is relatively flat. Once we would get up the bank, which if you walk the site, you'll see my neighbors have the same type of driveway where it's kind of steep at the beginning and then it flattens out up top, would really allow us for our stormwater management plan to be much more effective. And we'd even be open to doing pea gravel on the flat part of the driveway for drainage. So that's on the driveway, the oaks. The structure, if we want to go to the next slide and look through the actual home, we can go to just the next page, which I believe is our FAR. As mentioned, we're at about 93% of a maximum FAR. I think we can skip through and go, we'll skip page 5 and 6 are our floor plans. Yeah, it's a 4-bedroom home, 2 bedrooms on each level. And then if you move to page 7, these are our elevations, and we're keeping within a typical California contemporary architecture that you'll see in other parts of the Riviera. Relatively flat roof, all stucco home. I've spent several years on a wildland fire department, and I'm very sensitive to being Class A fire rated home. So everything's going to be stone and stucco, if the board agrees with that aesthetic. That will be local Santa Barbara sandstone for a lot of these structures, and we'll call that out, I think, on a future site plan. If you look at the north elevation, again, that's the flat entrance that we'd have from our driveway where we've proposed it coming in. It's essentially a single-story home from that elevation. And then we are keeping within height limits and dropping the house to a lower level as you go down. And then the last thing I think to address would be on the next page, which again, my neighbors to the east. So on page 8, the next page should demonstrate, I think that's 9, go back 1. Yes, this page, if we could for a second. The Ensleys, who are my neighbors to the east, they're the only neighbor that would have any sight line to my property. Everyone else is either below me or above the Ensleys as you go up Las Tunas Road. What we're showing here on the cross section, the top illustration there is the person would be standing on the main floor of the Ensleys or my neighbors, and that roof line, that cross section you see here is the highest roof point of my house. Essentially, it's the front door area, our main floor, and then it drops down from there. So we're really trying to maintain that view that Craig and Suzanne Ensley, have a beautiful view from their house. We want to make sure they can look up the coast to Goleta. And then there's a comment I think you'll find from them also about planting trees that would not be above our roof height. And I'm happy to include that in our next round of the landscape plan or sign a letter, anything that will make them, assure them that we do not plan to plant any trees on the east side of our house or the right side of this illustration you're looking at there. That would obstruct their view. So I think that's something that's very important. And then if we go to the last page, just looking at my time, leave comments. I think we're good on time. These are some of the renderings, different sort of cross sections. Instead of just a due north, due west elevation, we're given a view of the property. Again, as we, downslope the architecture of the house and fit in a pool, keeping it fairly modest pool in that lower level. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that came up on the public comments. I think that might be, oh, and I'm sorry, going back to, if you wouldn't mind, page 3, the landscape plan. I just want to reinforce, we really have an issue, and this is where you'll see a lot of public comments. There is nowhere to park on Las Tunas Road. There's no shoulders. The only place to park, there is one shoulder about 150 or 200 feet up Las Tunas Road. And so that was the other reason why we had cut in a temporary driveway and access point to get the contractors off the road. I think a number of my neighbors are concerned that contractors are going to park, in their driveways, and we absolutely do not want that to happen. So, we would like to get your approval conceptually on this site plan and putting in the driveway. Again, it's about 30 feet more to the east than it was. It's up the hill. And we are meeting, as I've worked with the traffic department, that sight line requirement of 115 feet. So I know there's a lot of emotion around the blind corner. A lot of people walk this with their dogs. But again, we will be in compliance with that sight line visibility length. And I think, once people know that there is a driveway here, hopefully people slow down a little bit on this road. People do tend to drive fairly fast. I'll stop there. I think that's probably for today and enough overview. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't see the clock, so I'm not sure how much time is left. And I see Mr. Osterhoff is on, so.
Yeah, and Adam is our architect. Oh, it looks like we have 4 minutes. Yeah, I was looking for a clock. I couldn't see one, so.
Yeah, so Mr. Osterhoff, did you have anything you wanted to add? If you could unmute.
I think Ian did a great job of covering it and touching on some of the neighbors' comments that he's received so far. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you. With that being said, I'll bring it back. Ms. Burkhardt, Do we have public comment, please?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand by clicking the hand icon located at the bottom of your screen. And while we wait for hands, Ms. Fennessy, did we receive any written correspondence for this item?
Thank you. We received 11 public comment letters that were distributed to the board prior to this meeting. And I do see a few hands raised, so I'll ask Susan Hughes to unmute herself, and she has 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you. I live at 1801 Las Tunas, which is up the hill from the proposed house. And my question is for Mr. Williamson is how many feet are between your proposed driveway and the Ensley's driveway?
Between our driveway and the Ensley's driveway, which is going uphill, boy, I guess I have to look at it. I would think about 60 feet.
60 feet. Okay, that's more than I thought. So thank you.
Sure.
I have no other questions.
Thank you. And now I will call on Ivan Donahue. Please unmute yourself and you have 2 minutes to speak.
Hi, this is Ivan. Are you able to hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I live at 2064 Las Tunas. My driveway is directly across from the newly proposed driveway. My question was around the safety and precedence of having two driveways facing each other in that location. One from a safety perspective, and then I think, Ian, you also mentioned rain or drainage down that driveway as well. I hadn't actually thought about that before, but what's going into planning around that? Or is there some sort of strategy to mitigate debris or rain coming down that driveway into our property?
Yeah, absolutely, Ivan. So Las Tunas right now has a pretty good pitch that takes all the rainwater to the edge of my lot line. And if you go out on a heavy rain day, it runs down that swale between my lot line and Las Tunas Road. So any water that would come down our driveway will filter down into that swale and bend around our lot line against the slope.
And then what about the actual driveways facing each other? Because as far as we've seen, I don't think there are any other driveways that face directly across from each other in the area.
I mean, we could check with the traffic department, but I think throughout the Riviera area, I would believe that there'd be driveways facing each other. I'm not too clear on the concern. I get it that there's a blind corner below you and me, roughly 100, 115 feet. But yeah, as far as the two driveways facing each other, I'm not sure if that would cause any kind of safety issue.
Okay, I guess that'll be looked into though at some point.
For sure.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I know my time is up, but one really quick follow-up. Will there be some sort of a retaining wall as well going around this corner?
If you look at the NZ, around the corner, the blind corner, yes, a low level, we will probably put around a 2 foot high retaining wall just to catch any small rocks that would, but we do plan to put vegetation on that bank to retain any soil.
I see.
But not a high 6 foot retaining wall, if that's your concern, definitely.
That was more my concern, yeah, just to further mitigate the site issues.
It'd be very low.
Got it. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next up is Charles Genuardi. And I will allow you to speak and ask you to unmute, and you have 2 minutes to speak.
Hey, thanks so much. Yeah, I'm a neighbor down the street and have the same concerns that Ivan does about that blind corner. Also, the size of the retaining wall, just seeing some of the storms that we've had and some of the runoff that comes down Las Tunas ends up directly into our property at 2203 Las Tunas. So my question is, yeah, you know, what studies are being done for a retaining wall that's going to be less than 6 feet for that size of a bank? So I'm not an architect, but just looking at the plans, it looked pretty aggressive, and just that corner and seeing everything that we've seen already with just some of the runoff, that was my question. But also coming up the street and visiting neighbors and friends, I ride a motorcycle, and just coming around that corner to see a driveway that close, it's very concerning, not only for me, for anybody else on a two-wheel vehicle. So anyhow, those are my two comments. Welcome the construction to new neighbors. However, the size of the retaining wall and the driveway location are definitely a concern of mine.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. This is Ian. So we will absolutely share with all the neighbors our proposed stormwater management plan. That was the next step after I get conceptual review here from the board. So we will have an engineer design. If anything, I think it'll be a big improvement, because right now it's just vacant land, and I would imagine there's been dirt and boulders that have probably washed onto Las Tunas Road. I think when we have an engineered plan, it will clearly depict how we plan to control the water. It's a requirement the city has. Obviously, we want to be a good neighbor and keep everything off of Las Tunas and definitely off of your property. So we will for sure have that plan in our next round.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And at this time, we do not have any more hands raised, so I'll hand it back to the board.
All right, thank you. Bring it back forward for questions. Vice Chair Kalas, do you have any questions, please?
I do have some questions. Trying to figure out where to begin here. Perhaps we could go to the site plan. Seems like a natural place to start. So we recently, there's a couple questions I had here about the site. We recently, when I say recent, I think about 6 months ago, perhaps staff could clarify for me. We recently reviewed a project that is proposed for the lot that shares your lot line, and it would be to, I suppose, the southeast of you.
Yeah,
So it's where your earlobe on your lot meets the next vacant lot over. And have you been in communication with them at all? I guess is my question about your project.
I have not. They purchased that lot after I had developed these plans, so I have not yet. And just for your question, if you want to go to page 1, I think it will show that lot you're talking about. It's on the right.
Correct. It's to the lower right in that. Yeah. Okay, so you have not had any communication with them about that, about your project or their project?
I don't. Can I add maybe what the context is?
Well, when I'm looking at this, I'm trying to think of neighborhood context and what will be neighborhood context, both for them and for you. And since you're sharing a lot line, it seems like it would be a reasonable thing to consider as an owner, to have a conversation with somebody who will be your neighbor, and how your respective projects may be impacting one another's respective projects and homes. So that was one of the reasons for my question.
Okay, the proposal we have right now, those neighbors are a good, I want to say 80 feet below us. There's a very large wild, I don't know what, the manzanita or whatever it is.
It's a swath of, I believe it's euphorbia or some sort of
Yeah.
coreopsis, it looks like. It's a natural
Yep.
growth there. It's kind of a grove of it. It's low lying, about 30 to 36 inches in height, kind of clusters in a big field there.
Yes, and
Mhm.
that lower level is what I don't want to touch. I'd like to leave it natural. And so I think where we have our project up at the top of this illustration, they actually wouldn't see our place at all. They wouldn't see a driveway or a house. If I were to have to put the driveway down at the very bottom, it would go at the very bottom of that line where we share a lot line. So I think I'm happy to talk to the neighbors. I agree with you. I want to meet them, and we'll absolutely reach out to them. I think they personally would be probably prefer what I've got proposed here, because everything would be up top.
Okay, do you know if that planting material that we were talking about, if it's identified at all on your survey, or if you know where the extent of it is relative to your property line?
Yeah, I can answer that pretty clearly, because when I bought the lot, the previous owners had actually cleared it. It's a vacant lot with just grass that dies in the summer and it grows in the winter. So it's really just like a tilled dirt lot, with the exception of, you can see a white missing part here about halfway up my lot, that long straight line. You'll see a white area where the surveyor couldn't get in. That's a very large cactus field. And my neighbors to the east of me, at the top of this illustration, are the Ensleys, who have a driveway near the one that I'm proposing. We share a big cactus field right there. Otherwise, everything else is just live coast live oaks, a couple pepper trees, and that's about it. It's just, if you go up there, it's an oak grove, essentially on vacant dirt. But my lot line, there's none of that. What you're asking about, that starts on their property line. The
Okay.
Yeah, someone cut it all back.
I'm actually looking at a satellite view, and I think you're right. I think it sits mostly on theirs. And I think that the cacti you're talking about are actually Las Tunis's, which is what the name is of the street is probably named after, that sit below the Ensleys.
Right.
Okay. So I'm familiar with this parcel. I walk around this corner with my partner and our dog, and I would like to understand more. You've shared a lot with us about your approach to the house, but when I look, and I'm looking at a different screen here, so excuse me that I'm not looking into the camera, but when I do look at this satellite image, it seems to me like there's and when I look at the site plan also, where the trees are identified, it seems like it would be much easier to grade between trees and with the topography from the lower portion of the site. You could effectively avoid trees from what I'm seeing on the satellite image and also on your site plan.
Sorry, Ms. Galas, are you framing this in a question?
Well, I asked the question already, I think. So the question was, why that approach when it seems like it's easier the other way?
Yeah, can we go to the next page? I'm sorry, page 2. There are you see the dark dotted line that Adam put in is the 30-foot setback I'm required. And so as you can see, we are actually putting the house right within the building envelope that we have. And I would totally agree with you that doing a design that's with the topography, and if you look at the topography lines as the driveway kind of parallels them, it's essentially a flat driveway. As opposed to if I had to come in from the bottom, it'd be a very steep climb and it would disrupt all that land. I mean, right now it's a nice green, clear, lot below us. And I think the neighbors and everybody would think that that'd be much more aesthetically pleasing to keep kind of the structure where we've got it and the driveway where we have it. It's less disruptive to the oak trees. and the land.
Okay. And then if we could go to the site sections, please.
That's page 8. Or were you wanting the elevations?
We can start back at the elevations, although I was looking at this second cross section on this sheet at one point. So can you tell us generally, or maybe this is a better question for your architect, what is driving the general massing and volumes of the home here? Because I'm seeing a relatively tall retaining wall, and I'm seeing some pretty significant volumes in what don't appear to be public spaces. And I'm wondering if there's any opportunity to get this to sort of settle down into the hillside a little bit better. The project that we saw on the neighboring parcel that's proposed was very, very respectful of sort of the natural topography. And I feel like this is just sitting a little bit atop, and it's a little bit more vertical than we'd like to see relative to the topography of the site. So I'm trying to understand what's driving that.
I can take a first cut, and Adam, if you want to, jump in, I'll give you a few seconds to think about your response too. The wall that you see is holding that pool. So, we could look at lowering that pool and stepping down to it a bit further. Right now, the pool comes straight off that lower level. So I think the mass, we don't have anything, I don't think, Adam, keep me honest here, but beyond a 9-foot or 10-foot ceiling on the 2 floors. So it's a single story, as you can see from that north elevation, as you come to the front door, and then it goes down to a lower level, which I believe has 9-foot ceilings. But the pool would be one thing I suppose we could take a look at potentially lowering. I don't know, Adam, if you have any other thoughts.
It is a little difficult to strike a balance between the volumes of the interior spaces and the construction and the topography of the site. So while the site might not look so steep when you're walking up Las Tunas Road, it is quite steep. And like Ian explained with the driveway, when we decided where we wanted the driveway to come in to disrupt the site, what we felt was the least amount, that kind of gives us a starting point up top. And then connecting the lower levels to the ground for the foundation, we did stretch out, I've stretched out the floor assemblies are a little wider, and the volumes inside are a little tall, so that we can step down to meet the grade at a lower level for the lower floor. So it's trying to strike a balance between where we start up top and where we need to finish on the lower level.
Okay, that's helpful to know. Those are all my questions at this point. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Arakalian, do you have any questions, please?
I do. Can you help confirm what is the architectural style you're looking to go after? So along with your comments in the presentation for like using sandstone veneer and plaster, I just want to better understand the inspiration you pulled from the neighborhood and the design direction.
Yeah. So we definitely are leaning towards a more contemporary or modern architecture. My father was an architect. He's retired now. He's 82, but was a big fan of Southern California kind of modern architects, people like Frank Gehry. We have driven around, my wife and I, and looked at other architecture within the Riviera, and we're trying to stay true to that. I call it a modern California, Southern California look with, a fair amount of glass. We are not going to have a lot of, we do need to probably change this for our next review with you. We want to keep it fairly simple and only have 2 exterior colors, essentially. It might be one, white stucco and then the Santa Barbara stone, and keep it at that. We don't want it to be busy with metal or wood siding, cladding, anything like that. We're trying to keep it very clean. That's, I guess, my best way of describing the architecture. Definitely the
Okay,
flat roof.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my question.
All right, thank you. Board Member Brentlinger, do you have any questions, please?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could we take a look? I think it's page 3 that shows the driveway cut.
Yes, 3.
Yes. Mr. Williamson, the driveway, you brought it up as a key ingredient of all of this, and you've got certainly have your challenges with the grade here and the sightlines. But my question is really about not so much the sightline which you've dealt with, but how the driveway actually comes into the road. And at least at this scale, it looks like it's an awkward connection where as you're exiting your driveway, if it just seems like normally it would be more of a perpendicular connection. And I wonder how you decided or how you dealt with that challenge.
Yeah, if we could go to page 2, it's actually a little better view, and you could zoom in a little bit on the car if you want. Zoom in there on the cloud burst, if you will. Sir, you're absolutely correct. The one modification I think we need to make here is that driveway where the hood of the car is needs to flare out a little bit more. Right now, it's a bit too. I think what Adam laid out was a 10-foot wide driveway, by code. But my neighbors up Las Tunas Road, again, the Ensleys, and you see their 2 houses. There's or 2 structures rather. The little square above my illustration, the one on the left is their garage, and the one on the right is their home. Their driveway is exactly the same as mine. It's just a little further up the road. It cuts into that bank in kind of a funnel shape, and then it narrows into a 10-foot wide driveway. So in the next iteration, I would show, a little bit more of a funnel shape where it hits Las Tunas Road, so that car, to your point, would be more perpendicular to the road.
Okay, I see. So it still looks. I think you called it like an 8-foot bank there that you'd be cutting to get down to the road. So you have to cut that back quite a ways. So maybe my question is whether this reflects that, or whether we'll be looking at a different grading output when you finalize the driveway cut.
Yeah, and Mr. Brentlinger, I will show you, it's the same cut and the same angle again as my neighbor, the Ensleys above us. Okay. And I think you'll see they did a really nice job of the 2 sides of their cut are actually just stacked stone that are about 3 feet high. So it wouldn't require a 6-foot or 8-foot retaining wall. It's just a nice cut that would come up that bank, and then it would level out to where it's flat, about 20 feet onto the lot. And I can share that actual photograph of their driveway, which would be very similar to ours. Yeah.
Okay, appreciate that. And then could we then look at page 8 again, where I think you were discussing the neighbor's view over your house?
Yes, sir.
And forgive me for asking you to repeat yourself here, but I wanted to make sure I really understood what this was telling us. So would you explain, I'm looking at the assumed floor plan dotted line with the figure on the top right. So that represents, tell me again what that represents.
Yeah, so going back to the previous page, you don't need to go there, but when I pointed out, my neighbors, the Ensleys, their house and their garage.
Right.
Their house is a single-story ranch home, which is depicted in that illustration on the top right with the person there.
Okay.
And what Adam actually put in there is we looked at the elevations. So that I can't see it's so small, but there's an elevation number, which is there. You know, he's actually called that out as assumed finished floor.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're standing, they have a patio that goes to their pool. And then the back of that person, actually, they have a window there, a couple windows that look to the due west, and they like that view. They've told me that's the view they have that looks up the coast. They look actually towards the airport.
Okay.
And so what I'm trying, and Adam, I think, did a pretty good job here of representing my highest roof line is 4 or 5 feet below their feet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the Ensleys wanted to make sure that I wouldn't plant any trees on that side, and I'm happy to confirm we will not do that.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And do you expect that with all the grading, you'll have any complicated subsurface shoring going on? Any pylons that are pretty deep here?
That's my next step is, again, I don't have a way to get a rig up onto the lot to do that soil sample, but, you know, I've got the firm all ready to go, and we now want to design our engineering. I will point out, and I apologize, the other board member whose name is escaping me, who asked about, you know, the mass and the height.
Right.
We will have a pretty substantial retaining wall. If you look at the lower graphic there, as Adam pointed out, we're trying to balance between how much we drop the house into the earth versus the engineering that would be required to do that. I don't want to disrupt the land below my neighbor too much, right? So I think we have found a pretty good balance. And the other thing about height is we're below the 30 feet, obviously, with any finished or existing grade.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any questions, please?
Yes, could you go to the landscape, please?
That's page 3.
So you have a hedge called out, but I think it's more of a vine. Is that correct, to grow on chain link fence?
Well, actually, we call it out, and I apologize, I'm not looking at the hedge, but we've been using the botanical garden for all the, you know, recommended kind of low water plants, but that is oh gosh, it's like a starflower hedge. It is a proposed hedge, and you know, 2 purposes. I have noticed, we walk around the Riviera, and we've noticed where people build a chain link fence that then is essentially, you know, consumed by the hedge. The fence would be good because if we have a dog, it'll keep, you know, the animal within our property. And then the hedge would give us some privacy. As mentioned, a lot of people walk this road. And so I think it just visually, for even my neighbors, they'd see a, you know, call it a 5-foot hedge along the line.
Okay. Thank you. That is my only question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a couple questions. What is the general plate heights of the rooms, and what's the plate height of the basement? Do you have a basement?
I'll give Adam a minute to look that one up. Adam, I know you're on mute. If you need to come off mute. There's really no basement. It's just the main level and then lower level. And then off of our lower level will be a small crawl space. About half the footprint is a crawl space. And then our mechanical room is down on that lower level.
So the lower level has a taller plate height than the main level. The lower level has a roughly 10.5 foot plate height, and the upper level has a 9.5 foot.
Oh, thank you. So I have some questions. I was looking in our design guidelines, and I need some comments from the city staff regarding projects of over 85% It says 20 closest homes, county panoramic street views. Were any of those done or performed, or is that required?
Chair Miller, those are typically required where floor area ratio is a requirement of the site. However, this site is larger, so it's just a guideline.
Oh, that's right. That was my first. How many square feet is the lot? I apologize. That was what I wanted to ask before I even brought that up.
I believe it's about 58,000 square feet. I can't remember.
Thank you. All right. All right, that answers that question. Yeah, I think that's my only question. All right, I'll bring it back to the board for comments. Vice Chair Kloss, do you have any comments, please?
I do. So let's see. We are being asked to comment, as I understand it, and staff, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I made a note here that we are being asked to make comments as to whether we can aesthetically support the location of the driveway access. So we're not being asked to comment on transportation issues, but we're being asked to comment on whether the location is aesthetically supportable. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. If you could keep your comments to the location and design of the driveway. Well, I'm sorry, the design of the driveway is within the purview of transportation and engineering. So before the applicant gets too far into engineering plans, they would like your feedback on the aesthetics and the location.
Okay, so I will try to address that as best as I can without us having real drawings to comment on relative to wall materials and things of that nature. Clearly, any walls that would be associated with the driveway cut, I would want to see in native sandstone. I would prefer to see walls that are commensurate with the neighborhood in terms of their design. I am not in support of a driveway that is directly across from the neighbors across Las Tunas, because in my experience traveling this neighborhood on foot, most driveways that oppose one another are not directly across from one another. They at least stagger each other by the driveway widths themselves, which allows for a hedging or some sort of screening so that there's not any direct light that goes into the opposing properties. Property at nighttime. You don't get any light pollution from somebody exiting or entering into a lot, in other words, from somebody across the street. So I would prefer to see that there be some sort of information provided in the next set of drawings that we look at as to where the neighbor's driveway is across the street and how that relates to the cut that's being proposed here. So those would be my initial comments about the driveway. I would also encourage the applicant and architect to consider alternative ways of approaching the house that would not require the number of oaks to be removed that are being proposed for removal, especially given the size of the oaks that are being proposed. Although I don't have an arborist letter in front of me, and so I can't speak to the health of those oaks without an arborist letter. And I would request that when the applicant return, that the mitigation of the oaks being removed be addressed in the arborist letter. And specifically, it would be helpful if the arborist would speak to why a number of smaller saplings are being proposed as opposed to larger boxed saplings. There may be rationale behind that in terms of how the oaks acclimate to the property and grow over time. They may be more successful if they're introduced younger. I don't know, but that's something that would be helpful to have in the letter from the arborist. In regards to the volume and nature of the project itself, of the home, when I look at the general approach to the topography, I feel like there's an opportunity for more middle ground between the volume that we're seeing and how the structure is sited relative to topography. Oftentimes out in Mission Canyon, when homes are approached, there is a grade change in the driveway or in an entry court where sometimes they will step down to the main home rather than the main home being on the same level. And it is a way that architects have grappled with these topographic variations in sites so that you can get the main level onto the lower level, the main level of the residence on a lower level, and maybe resolve some of the issues that you're having with stretching these volumes on the inside and trying to get down to that lower level that, that is presumably closer to grade. So I think it would be interesting to see if there's an opportunity to do that and maybe reduce some of the perceived volume from the lower portion of Las Tunas, as well as to possibly address some of the concerns of your neighbor above you. I would encourage you to consider stepping down the pool to reduce the size of the stone retaining wall that we're seeing from below. And I think that the simplification of materials that you alluded to earlier, Mr. Williamson, would be welcomed. I see 3 distinct materials here, and I think if it could be reduced to 2, it would greatly help the home and its general sense of solitude relative to the property. The last comment that I have is sort of related to this landscape approach, and perhaps Ms. Klein has more thoughts about it. The neighboring project that is proposed that we've looked at, I do not believe that they're hedging the parcel. They've somewhat embraced the more open nature of that lot and the historical attributes of it. And I think it would be a very gracious gesture towards your neighbors if you were to try to consider where you might hedge the property versus where you might leave it open, so that there's still that sense of the hillside from below when you're approaching Las Tunas from sort of the Marymount area. Those are my comments.
All right, thank you. Board Member Arakalian, do you have any comments, please?
I do. So I first want to appreciate the applicant's initial attempts and trying to be respectful to the neighbors. This is I've driven by the site. I have reviewed all the public comments, and I believe the site conditions are more challenging than normal. The steep grade, among other things. I am in support of the proposed materials, the sandstone and the plaster. Would suggest keeping the color board to earth tones and hope to see a color and material board at the next review, just for me to understand more detail. I'm on sheet A4 right now. If we can get to that. So I'm in support of a lot of Board Member Colos's comments about stepping the building projections more into the hillside. Despite the steep site conditions, I don't believe it's currently balanced per our design guidelines, and I believe additional study needs to be performed on how to make this building more of a low profile, how to make it blend more with the natural surroundings. So I'm on the west perspective on the right, and you know I'm seeing that the main floor and the lower floor are showing the same volume. So I feel like there could be some slight variation between the volumes to kind of massage the visual impact, make it a little bit less bulky. And then I'm on the left, the south perspective. I believe there's ways to study the wraparound main floor deck. It's uncovered, and it just, I believe it just, from an aesthetic standpoint, it just is showing more of a projected look. And I feel like there could be some ways to study how to expose less of the underdeck and how to make it a bit more in compliance with good neighborhood guidelines. I believe if it's possible, some renderings from street view looking up to the house would be very helpful, just so I can understand how this will look to the public. And then I believe the proposed number and proportions of the glazing area can be scaled down a little bit. I feel like there should be some restudying to be done there. And I would be interested in seeing an FAR study of some properties directly adjacent to this project. I believe there could be some scale down that could make this a little bit more appropriate for the size of the lot. And those are my comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any comments, please?
Yes, I would agree that the hedge and the plant material does not seem appropriate. It's often grown as a vine, and it creates a very delineated hedge, that plant. I would recommend doing something more naturalistic and native, mixing different types of native hedging and varying the space. And I'd like to comment that the new planting would help with erosion, and a stormwater plan would also help with that. So the project would help with a lot of the runoff. From an aesthetic viewpoint, I agree that the natural materials work well. The site planning seems to make sense as far as decreasing grading. So I'm in support of anything that decreases the grading and removals of oak trees as well. And those are my comments.
All right, thank you. Where to start?
I've got a couple comments, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bridlinger. I very apologize. Get right over you, please.
No problem. No problem.
Right there.
I guess my comment would be sort of collectively, I think we're concerned with what aesthetically appears to be a overweighting of one side of the house to the other, as it appears due to the grade change on the right side as we're looking at this particular page. And you've heard a number of approaches to this. I would echo the comments about perhaps looking at different ways of staggering that end of the house, or otherwise masking the mass of the stone portion that's supporting the pool, but very conscious of the fact that we really do need to just probably see it from the street and to see what real impact this has on the neighborhood. So I would underscore the value of some of those views from the street or other locations where the house would be visible, where this overweighting on the right side may be more apparent. Those are my comments, but thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Britlinger. I apologize. I don't
No worries.
I'm struggling with several issues with this house. Yes, it's a rather modern house, and I understand the legacy of your father or whatever. I kind of want to know if there's styles of this home in the neighborhood. So like the context, because one of the primary design guidelines is, because I want to make sure I don't the proposed development will be consistent with the scenic character of the city and will enhance the appearance of the neighborhood. The proposed development will be compatible with the neighborhood, and its size, bulk, and scale will be appropriate to the site and neighborhood. So I'm struggling with that with this particular house. Oh, there you go. So I feel there needs to be a lot more sensitivity to the existing neighborhood. And as you know, and people don't like to talk about that, but talk about this, especially with architects and designers, is we have this kind of default preference or legacy or heritage of the Mediterranean Spanish colonial. So that tends to be what we want to have a bias towards. I say that as politely as possible. So the style of your home doesn't necessarily reflect that. So I would like to see some homage to that bias to this house, some kind of Mediterranean taste to it with the modern touch to it, you know, with the modern consistency, which I think is good. Yeah, I feel uncomfortable with the whole balcony that juts out. If we could see the exterior elevations, please. Yeah, it's just not there needs to be more study. I'd also feel a little more comfortable understanding the neighborhood context, so that this house blends in with that neighborhood. I'm a little feeling that there's a lot of glass, so there's going to be a lot of a lighthouse effect in terms of it shining through the neighborhood. So I'd like to see a reduction of the fenestration. Yeah, it just needs to flow with the hill a little smoother. It juts out too high. I would like to see you, like I said, get closer to the 85% FAR. I think that would help. And based on the other comments that the other board members had made regarding the driveway, I do see that in that driveway entrance. If we can go to the site plan, please. The cut of the entry of the driveway is rather, if we can go in the upper left-hand corner and enlarge that, that's a lot of cut going into the grade there. So there's going to be some, it seems to me, some serious retaining walls going on, which is, you know, and I completely get your rationalization of why you're doing what you're doing, which makes perfect sense. So those are my comments. I'd like to see that this architecture is a little more in a touch of a more of a traditional vein in the Mediterranean sides. And I think there is a way of marriage with a marriage between the modern and the Mediterranean that could really make this house stand out. So I really would like to see some more study about that. And repeat, I think getting closer to the 85% FAR would be preferable as well. And those are my only comments. With that being said, they're here for only comments only. If someone would like to craft a motion, that'd be great.
Chair Miller, do we need to craft a motion, or is it just incumbent upon staff to capture the comments that we've already made? I think we've asked that question on previous occasions. And so I just, Barbara.
Excellent question.
Yeah.
Yes.
For this project, we do need one motion that captures the comments made. When we have a pre-application before us for a one-time concept review, that's when we just consolidate everyone's, or we list everyone's comments separately. But in this case, we do need a motion.
Okay. Who would like to challenge?
Okay, I'll try. Making a motion for any particular action, is that correct, Ms. Burt? We're just providing comments?
That's correct. There's no action.
Okay. So the board generally feels as though the following comments would be appropriate based upon our review of the project. The general consensus is that the project feels too large in massing and volume as it is currently proposed. We would encourage the applicant to consider reducing the floor area ratio closer to 85% guideline and suggest that the applicant consider studying the massing and the manner in which the home is within or upon the topography of the site, with specific emphasis on reduction of the number of materials, the amount of glazing, and the height of many of the stone walls. We would like the applicant to consider the configuration of the driveway, its relationship with the parcel across the street, and the materials used for the retention or the retaining walls associated with the driveway. We would like to see the location of the driveway on the parcel that sits across Las Tunas on any ensuing drawings that we receive. We would appreciate the use of a more natural approach to landscaping, especially as it circumscribes the property or defines the property line at the street. And we would appreciate if the applicant would consider incorporating more of a Mediterranean style to the home. It's my motion, and I'm sure that there will be comments from the board amending that. That's my first step.
Thank you, Board Member Colossus. That was a great try. Do I have a second?
May I add some things to the motion, or I have to wait?
You know, that's a good question. Usually it's after the motion and second is made, there's discussion, but when adding to the motion, I don't know. Barbara, what's the proper?
I think we need a second, and then we can have discussion and add to it, and then the seconder
Okay.
can agree or not to add that.
All right. Would you like to second it, Board Member Arakelian?
Sure. And I wanted to add a few things to the motion. If the applicant can come back, or may I ask if for the applicant to come back with an FAR study, or is this not appropriate for this meeting?
You could include that in the motion. It's, I think you mentioned having a few homes around the subject site.
Well, can I say something to you, Board Member Arakelian? Because we did recommend that they try to get closer to the 85% FAR. Does that satisfy that concern, or do you still want the surrounding?
I think the surrounding would also be helpful as well.
Okay.
I'm amenable to including that. Do you have other comments, Mr. Arakelian?
I do. And it just left my head. Thanks.
I'd like to add to my comments to my own motion if I can. that we would like to see an arborist report addressing the health of any of the trees that are going to be removed, as well as the proposal to mitigate with smaller native oaks as opposed to larger box trees.
The seconder of the motion accept that.
I accept, and I also have one more comment that it came back to me.
Yay.
Yeah. So is it possible for me to add to the motion if the applicant can come back with renderings of the property from as viewed from the street?
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so I would like to add that.
Okay, Mr. Motisha, you're back. I'm sure did you hear the whole thing, or I guess you're just.
I came in with just the comments.
Okay, all righty.
I will review it before we meet it again.
Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Chair Miller, I just want to clarify that we have all those comments are accepted by the maker of the motion and the seconder.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Colas.
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian.
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger.
Where'd he go?
Mr. Brentlinger.
Hi.
Oh, God, there we go.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Thank you. Board Member Klein.
Yes.
And Board Member Motisha.
I will abstain at this point.
Thank you. And Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Are we on to item 4? Quickly, Ms. Burkhart, where are we on our timeline? I don't have the.
We are a little behind schedule, but that's okay. We can hear this next item and maybe it'll go more quickly.
Okay, item number 4, 742 Juanita Avenue, project design approval and final approval is requested. The project site is currently developed with a 1,000. So hold on, my screen covers part of the. I can't wait till we get back to. Oh wait, sorry. Oh my God. Okay. 1,152 square foot, 3-bedroom single unit residence with 411 square foot garage. The proposed project involves a 236 square foot first floor addition and a 475 square foot second floor addition. The proposed total of 2,274 square feet on a 9,222 square foot lot is 65% of the maximum required floor to lot area ratio. Staff hearing officer approval of an interior setback modification was granted on November 17th, 2021. Project design approval and final approval are requested. Neighborhood preservation findings are required. Project was last reviewed on September 13th, 2021. Do we have minutes from the previous meeting that we could read into the record?
We do. We'll pull them up. Here we go.
If Board Member Kloss, if you'd like to read those into the record, that'd be great.
Okay, on September 13th of last year, the following motion was made. The project was continued indefinitely to the staff hearing officer for return to the full board with comments. With the following comments, the board is in support of the setback modification. The board finds that the project is generally consistent with the overall neighborhood preservation findings and hillside design district and slope lot findings. The applicant shall consider clear story windows on both or either the north or south elevation of the second floor addition. The motion was made by Mr. Motisha, seconded by Klein, and it passed 5-0 with Mr. Ziegler being absent.
All right, thank you. Hello, Mr. Thompson. If you would just like to go directly and address what was the minutes were, that will make it much easier. You don't have to go through the whole plan.
Sure, I'd be glad to do that. Nothing has changed in the plan. If we go to the elevations, sorry, I don't know the sheet number, probably be about 5 sheets in.
Sheet 6 for staff.
Thank you. I appreciate your suggestion on the clear stories. So we've added on both ends, the north and south end, these trapezoidal clear stories, which match the existing house from the late 50s. Other than that, we have shown all the details, exterior details on the subsequent sheet. If you want to move ahead and look at the other 2 elevations and the details, you'll see that. Yeah. And you can go ahead. You heard cross sections and the detail sheet. We'll be matching the existing eaves, the existing barge overhangs, and matching the existing siding, colors, window details. Next sheet. Really the only new, go ahead and go one. Yeah, there's a partial view of the guardrail detail. I think on a subsequent plan I submitted, we had the full detail, but it's basically horizontal steel bars painted black on the guardrail. And I think that those are the key elements that you needed to see.
All right, thank you. Did we get any public comment, Ms. Burkhart?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand by clicking the hand icon located at the bottom of your screen. While we wait for hands, Ms. Fennessy, did we receive any written correspondence for this item?
Thank you. We did not receive any written correspondence from this item. And at this time, I do not see any hands raised, so I'll hand it back to the board.
All right, thank you. All right, Vice Chair Kalas, do you have any questions, please?
I have no questions.
All right, Board Member Arkalian, do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
Board Member Brentlinger, do you have any questions, please?
No, I don't.
All right, Board Member Klein.
No questions.
Board Member Motisha, any questions, please?
No questions.
And I have none either, so we'll bring it back to the board for comments. Vice Chair Kalas, do you have any comments, please?
Really like this project. It's simple, it's modest, it serves the owner's needs, and I think it's very respectful of the architecture of the existing home. Fully in favor.
Very well said. Board Member Arkalian, do you have any questions or comments, please?
I do. I agree with Vice Chair Kalas. It's simple, it's respectful for neighborhood compatibility, and I believe the project is ready for final approval in PDA.
Great, thank you. Board Member Brentlinger, do you have any comments, please?
I agree with the previous comments, but I would also emphasize how I do think that the addition of the clear stories have worked out really well. And that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any comments, please?
I agree with what the previous board members have said, and also really think the clear story is a great addition.
All right, thank you. Board Member Motisha, do you have any comments, please?
Yes, I just agree with everybody, all the comments that have previous to me. Yes, I like the project. Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'm left speechless. So with that being said, would someone like to craft a motion? They're here for final design approval.
I'll make a motion for project design approval and final approval with the following comments: that the project is consistent in appearance with the scenic character of the neighborhood, is compatible in size, bulk, and scale, quality architectural materials are being used, no trees are being removed that are significant, the public health, safety, and welfare are appropriately protected, the good neighbor guidelines are followed, and no public are being impacted.
What was, okay, thank you. Do I have a second, please?
A second.
All right, we'll have a roll call, please. Someone's chewing.
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha, Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
thank you, and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
There's a 10-day appeal process for this project. Thank you very much. And you've got yourself a project, Mr. Thompson. Oh, moving on to item number 5, 1625 Shoreline Drive. This project design approval and final approval is requested. The existing site is developed with a 1,916 square foot single unit residence and a 518 square foot attached garage. Proposal for a 495 square foot, one bedroom, single level addition to the residence. Removal of an unpermitted 310 square foot deck at the rear of the lot, permitting a 6-inch raised 1,981 square foot deck and a 2,226 square foot permeable artificial turf area. The proposed total of 2,929 square feet of a 22,488 square foot lot is 63% of the maximum guideline floor to lot area ratio. The subject parcel is zoned E3-S-D-3 with the coastal land use plan designation as low density residential, maximum 5 dwellings per acre. Planning Commission approval of the coastal development permit was granted on November 11th, 2021. Project design approval and final approval are requested. Neighborhood preservation findings are required. The project was last reviewed on September 13th, 2021. Do we have minutes from the previous meeting?
And Chair Miller, I need to excuse myself for this meeting. Thank you.
And for the reason being, I guess you have to explain why.
Conflict of interest with employer.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Kalas, if you could read the minutes into the meeting. Minutes in, yes. I'm getting tired.
Okay, on September 13th of last year, the following motion was made. This project was continued indefinitely to the Planning Commission for return to the full board with the following comments. Item 1, the board is generally in support of the project. 2, when the project returns to the full board, the board anticipates making neighborhood preservation findings in hillside design district and slope lot findings. 3, the board finds that the project is sensitive to the neighborhood and that there are no privacy issues. 4, the applicant shall study the conflict between the 2 roof areas on the east side of the project. 5, the applicant shall consider completing a shade study for the portion of the addition that faces south due to the large fenestration in that location. And 5, the colors and finishes are to match the existing as well as the nature and colors of the windows. That motion was made by Kalas, seconded by Klein, and it passed 5-0 with Mr. Arakelian abstaining. The motion carried.
All right, thank you. Mr. Henderson, if you'd only want to address the minutes and not necessarily the whole project since we've already approved it, that'd be great.
Sure, great. Thank you very much. So Dylan Henderson, Salt Architecture. So yeah, this is a really simple project. You guys have seen this before. We got through Planning Commission, which was great. And we had to do the whole top of bluff analysis and retreat analysis and all that. And we've come out swimmingly, which is great news. So on this application, I'll address the roof connection. If you can go to page 13 of the PDF, please. So the comment, can you see my cursor if I put it on the screen or no? No, you cannot. Okay.
No.
So I'll just point to this sort of visually. So upper left corner, the comment was when we originally had submitted our design, we didn't really have this, how this roof, the adjacent roof was landing onto the addition roof. And so I've changed the color and the hatch so you can see that. Obviously, this will all be the same asphalt shingle and it will not read that way in real life, but you can see how the connection is. So we're simply extending the roof line over, landing it and creating a bit of a valley in how it connects in order to come down to that new gutter and downspout. And so it's a very simple condition and a very simple solution to the request. And if you take that to this sort of follow that dash line down to the box, the dashed box, you can see visually in elevation how that would look. In truth, you would never have that perspective of the project, but that is how it's going, how we would build it and how we're proposing to fix that. The other comment, yeah, I guess if you zoom back out, the comment was, you know, looking at doing a solar shading study. If you go up one sheet, please, to page 12. Yeah, so this lower left side, the south elevation. So our top of bluff retreat analysis line came up relatively close to our addition. We're using the exact same windows and doors that are everywhere else on the house and following a very consistent rhythm. But the solar shading study, so our line, our top of left retreat came up very close to the house. We projected that eave overhang on that south side by 2 feet. And that's really all we were told we could project out into that setback area. They really don't like to see structure projecting out too far into that area. So we extended out as far as the Planning Commission felt was appropriate. They gave us an approval on that 2 foot overhang because we are past that line just very slightly. But you know, we're doing our absolute best and sort of following consistently with what the other fascia line and soffit line of the house is. And so I feel like we're doing our best there. Obviously the whole elevation faces the ocean and does face south. So, but we did our best with our eave overhang. So if you zoom back out again. So this is a relatively simple addition onto the existing house. We are in the side yard and not the side yard setback, but we are to the left of the house. And I feel that this is just a very simple addition. We're lower than any adjacent roof lines. We're being very respectful of that. And this is a single story addition on Shoreline Drive. And so that's really the presentation unless you have additional questions. But I think we've kind of gone around on this for a while. So I feel like we're in a good spot.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Ms. Burkhart, did we get any public comment, please?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand by clicking the hand icon located at the bottom of your screen. And while we wait for hands, Ms. Fennessy, did we receive any written correspondence for this item?
Thank you. We did not receive any written correspondence for this item. And at this time, I do not see any hands raised, so I'll hand it back to the board.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board for questions. Vice Chair Kalas, do you have any questions, please?
No.
Thank you. Board Member Arkalian, do you have any questions, please?
He's absent.
Oh, that's right. Darn it. Board Member Brentlinger, do you have any questions, please?
No, I don't.
Board Member Klein, do you have any questions, please?
No.
Board Member Motisha, do you have any questions, please?
No questions?
And I have none at this time either, so I'll bring it back to the board for comments. Vice Chair Kalas, do you have any comments, please?
Just want to extend a bit of gratitude to the applicant for addressing the comments and questions so concisely from our last round. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Brentlinger, do you have any comments, please?
No, I don't. It is a clean project. I like it.
Okay. Board Member Klein, do you have any comments, please?
No comments. I agree with what the previous board members have said.
Board Member Motisha, do you have any comments, please?
No comment.
And I have none either. So with that being said, can we have someone entertain a motion for final design approval?
I'll make a motion for project design approval and final approval with the following findings. That the project is consistent in appearance with the scenic character of the neighborhood, is compatible in size, bulk, and scale. Quality architectural materials are being used. No trees are being impacted that are significant. The public health, safety, and welfare are appropriately protected. The good neighbor guidelines are followed regarding privacy, landscaping, noise, and lighting, and no public views are being impacted.
All right, thank you. May I have a second for the motion?
I'll second.
I think Mr. Brentlinger beat you. Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Brentlinger,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Mr. Henderson. And there's a
Thank
10-day appeal process for this project.
Understood.
Okay, that concludes our single-family design board for January 31st, 2022. Thank you and good night.
Good night.